Hello and welcome. I'm Jessalyn Wheelis, and I'm going to tell you a really good story today by memory in the oral tradition and play my guitar and sing a song. Now, both the story and the song came from the Appalachian mountain people in North Carolina. Many years ago, a man named Richard Chase went to the people who lived in the mountains and said, I know that you tell many stories here to children and adults whenever you have people gathered together, especially at night or on holidays. And he said, can I listen to some of them and write them down and put them in a book? And the people were happy. They were happy that he wanted to do that. And so they invited him many times, and he wrote down many stories, all the stories in this book. Now I'm going to tell you Gallymanders. That's the name of the story. And the name of the song is Charmin Betsy. And both are from the mountain people of North Carolina. One time there was an old woman who lived by herself. When she was getting older, she couldn't get the housework done. So she sent across the water and hired her a gal. Now that young woman was mean and she was lazy. She didn't have to wash the dishes. She made up the beds all sloppy, and she swept the dirt anywhere she could hide it. The old woman was losing her sight, so she couldn't really tell that dust was blowing all over her house. One day, the old woman had to go to town. So she told that gal what work and all she wanted her to do while she was gone. And then she said, "And whatever you do, don't you dare look up the chimney. You hear?" And off she went to town, put her bonnet on her head and tied it under her chin. She kept walking, and that gal looked out the doorway, and she watched until the old woman was clean out of sight. Then, of course, the first thing she did was she ran in the front room, knelt down on the hearthrug, and looked up the chimney. She saw a long leather bag. I wonder what she's got in that bag, she thought. She took the poker stick and got it down from there, and she opened it up, and that bag was plumb full of big silver dollars and $20 gold pieces. "Ah, I'm rich now," she said. She tied up the bag and she ran out of the house and started running clear across the pasture field. She ran on and she ran on till she came to an old horse. The old horse said, good girl, won't you rub my old sore back? Just rub it for me and I'll ride you across the pasture field." She said, "Ha! I'm rich now. I won't dirty my pretty little hands." And she ran on and she ran on till she came to an old cow. The old cow said, good girl, won't you milk my old sore back? Nobody come to milk me today." And she said, I'm rich now. I won't dirty my pretty little hands. Got no time to fool with such as you. And on she ran till she came to the peach tree. She looked at all those ripe peaches. The peach tree said, good girl, won't you prune these old sprouts that are choking me so bad? Just prune me a little and you can have a peach. She said, I'll not do it, but I'll eat me some peaches anyway. She climbed up the tree and commenced to eating as many peaches as she could possibly stuff into her mouth. She ate so many she fell asleep up there amongst the branches. Well, meantime, the old woman came home from town. She called and called for the gal, and when she didn't come, the old woman was suspicious. She ran into the front room and she knelt down on the hearthrug and looked up and saw her long leather bag was gone. The old woman started running across the pasture field. She was yelling, Gallymanders, Gallymanders, all my gold and silver's gone, my great long money purse. She came to the old horse. She said, have you seen a little gal go by here with a jig and a jag and a long leather bag and all my gold and silver? The old horse said, yes'm. Just climb on my back and I'll ride you across the pasture field the way she went. So they rode across the pasture field and the old woman said, Gallymanders, Gallymanders, all my gold and silver's gone, my great long money purse. She came to the old cow. She said, have you seen a little gal go by here with a jig and a jag and a long leather bag and all my gold and silver? The old cow said, yes'm. She went right that way. You'll soon catch her. So the old woman ran on, Gallymanders, Gallymanders, all my gold and silver's gold, my great long money purse. She came to the peach tree. She said, have you seen a little gal go by here with a jig and a jag and a long leather bag and all my gold and silver? The peach tree said, yes, ma'am. She's up here in my branches. You want her? The old woman said, yes, I want her. The peach tree bent over and dropped that gal right in front of the old woman. And the first thing the old woman did was to grab back her leather bag. And then she grabbed that gal and shook her around considerable until the gal broke free and ran on off and never came back. The old woman went home and stuck her leather bag back up the chimney and tried to get her housework done by herself, but she just couldn't do it. So she hired her another gal, and that young woman was very sweet and kind. She worked as hard as she could and tried to please the old woman. One day the old woman had to go to town, so she told the gal what work and all she wanted her to do while she was gone. And then she said, and whatever you do, don't you dare look up the chimney, you hear? Yes'm, said the girl. The old woman throwed her bonnet on her head and out the door she went. That gal was so good. She got busy and did everything the old woman had told her to do. She even cut some wood for the fireplace in case it got cold later on at night. She weeded the garden. She washed the clothes. She washed the pots and pans and hung them up to dry. She hung the clothes on the clothesline and started mopping all the floors. Well, when she was done and didn't have anything else to do, she sat down in the rocking chair to rest and got out her knitting, and she started knitting. And she started thinking, I wonder what the old woman has got hid up the chimney. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look. And she kept knitting. Kept knitting and knitting and kept thinking, but I wonder what she's got up the chimney. She said not to look, so I'm not looking. She kept knitting. And she said, oh, maybe it won't hurt just to take a little peek. So she hunkered down on the hearth rug and looked up the chimney and saw the long leather bag. She said to herself, wonder what she's got in that bag. Took the poker stick and gouged it down, opened it up, said, Ma, ain't that pretty? She dumped out the gold and silver, and those coins made nice little houses. She played with it for a good while. She built little fences and little houses and had the best time. And when she was through playing, she put all the gold and silver back in the bag and tied it up. Then she tried to put it back up the chimney, but it wouldn't stay. Every time it kept falling down and landing in the ashes. Oh, she tried and tried and tried, and after a while, she started to get really scared. just had to leave with the bag laying there in the ashes because she knew the old woman was going to come home and know she had done what she told her not to do, and she was scared, so she started running across the pasture field. When she came to the old horse, he said, good girl, won't you rub my old sore back? She said, oh, I shouldn't stop, but I can do that for you. And she rubbed his old sore back. And he said, oh, that feels good. Now you climb on and I'll ride you across the pasture field. She did, and she said, thank you kindly. She climbed over the fence and went on till she came to the old cow. The old cow said, good girl, won't you milk my old sore bag? Oh, said the cow, I really shouldn't stop, but okay, I can do it for you. She got a little tin bucket that happened to be there, and she put it under the cow and milked her real good. And the old cow said, oh, thank you so much. Why don't you drink some sweet milk? So the cow was thirsty. The old woman never gave her anything but ash cakes and water. So she drank some of that sweet milk. Oh, she hadn't had milk in so long. It was so good. She said, thank you kindly. Then she ran on till she came to the peach tree. The peach tree said, good girl, will you prune these old sprouts that are hurting me so bad? Prune me a little and I'll give you a peach. Oh, that gal was so hungry. She said, oh, I'm scared. I really shouldn't stop, but I'll do that for you. And so she pruned all the sprouts that were choking the peach tree so bad. And the peach tree said, thank you. Now you climb up here in my branches and you eat all the peaches you want. And if that old woman comes by here, don't you worry none. I'll handle her. So she climbed up in the tree, ate so many of those delicious sweet peaches that she fell asleep in the branches. Meanwhile, the old woman came home, called for the cow, knelt down on the hearth rug, and looked up the chimney, no bag. She never even noticed it was laying there in the ashes. She ran out of the house screaming, Gallymanders, came to the old horse. She said, have you seen a little gal go by here with a jig and a jag and a long leather bag and all my gold and silver? The old horse said, no, ma'am. I ain't seen nobody go by here at all, ma'am. Well, she kept running and running. Gallymanders. She came to the old cow. She said, have you seen a little gal go by here with a jig and a jag and a long leather bag and all my gold and silver? The old cow said, no, ma'am. I've been out here all evening, ma'am, and I ain't seen nobody go by here at all, ma'am. So the old woman ran on. She was getting out of breath. She was running. She was going, and she came to the peach tree and she said, have you seen a little gal go by here with a jig and a jag and a long leather bag and oh my gold and silver? The peach tree said, no, ma'am. Ain't nobody come by here at all, ma'am. Oh, the old woman was so tired. She ran on till she just collapsed right there beside the road. A man in a truck came along and saw her and picked her up and put her in his truck, rode her on home and put her out at her front door. Now, I never did hear tell of whether the old woman ever looked down in the ashes and found her old money bag. But the last time I was by there, she was still so stingy with money, she wouldn't eat nothing but ash cakes and water. All around the mountain, Charmin Betsy, all around the mountain, Laura Lee. If I never see them again, may those good girls remember me. the same. Mountain gal wears an old calico, but she gets there just the same. All around the mountain, Charmin Betsy. All around the mountain, Laura Lee. If I never see them again, may those good girls remember me. City gal, she wears those high heel shoes. Country gal, she wears the same. Mountain gal wears no shoes at all, but she gets there just the same. All around the mountain, Charmin Betsy. All around the mountain, Laura Lee. If I never see them again, may those good girls remember me. City gal, she wears that French perfume. Country gal, she wears the same. Mountain gal wears flowers in her hair, gets there just the same. All around the mountain, Charmin Betsy. All around the mountain, Laura Lee. If I never see them again, may those good girls remember me. City gal, she drives a big fine car. Country gal, she drives the same. Mountain gal rides a mule or a horse, but she gets there just the same. All around the mountain, Charmin Betsy. All around the mountain, Laura Lee. Yahoo! If I never see them again, may those good girls remember me. One more time. All around the mountain, Charmin Betsy. All around the mountain, Laura Lee. If I never see them again, may those good girls remember me. Thank you for listening to the story and the song. I'm going to be doing more videos, so if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll be notified when the new ones come out. Thank you so much.